So basically, our initiative is called the Other Forest, a nature-based tool for ecological and social regeneration in cities. This presentation is one of our main tools in terms of how we transmit the information around the topic of Beirut River, and as well as the work that we have been doing in terms of restoring ecosystems in urban areas. So it's a very visual presentation, and this is something that we send out, we give at universities, at schools, on different online forums. So it has become one of our most valuable tools to spread this information. So we are a company that's a regenerative consultancy and architecture firm working on urban afforestation in the Middle East. The premise started from this idea, what if our cities were as effective and generous as a forest, providing not only for ourselves, but also for other species in perfect balance with the operating conditions of planet Earth. Because at the moment, our cities are not serving us well. From air pollution to coastal landfills, in Beirut, we have extremely little green space, urban heat island effects and all of that have led to urban flooding, which disrupt the city and cause problems to the citizens. Temperatures are rising, our forests are burning, and our air pollution has reached very alarming levels. So in Greenpeace's latest report from last year, Lebanon ranks as having the highest premature death rates due to air pollution coming from the burning of fossil fuels. So keeping in mind that Lebanon is not an industrial country, we don't have heavy industry, so it's all due to dirty power generation and private cars. So this is a glimpse of the Beirut River, and this is what got us started on this project. So this is the natural ecosystem at the Beirut River, upstream from where we have planted. And we look at the importance of the Beirut River in terms of, rivers are important because they support a whole ecosystem and they provide humans with ecosystem services. In the case of the Beirut River, we witnessed the degradation of the river and its connected infrastructure, resulting in a negative impact on the surrounding communities and environments through the illegal dumping of waste and the loss of ecosystem services and the high population density on both sides. So this is the Beirut River all the way on the right side. You can't even see it because it's so disconnected from the city and from the people. And it also has been buried under these solar panels. So from ecosystem to infrastructure, in less than, since 1968, when the river was canalized in concrete, the river was transformed from a natural ecosystem to a sewage infrastructure. Furthermore, in 2013, these solar panels were added onto the river, making it even more artificial than it was and further disconnecting it from the community. Since it became disconnected from the community that used to be able to go and swim and fish and meet each other on the banks of the river was canalized and it became a no man's land, which ended up being a dump for all sorts of stuff, from garbage during our garbage crisis to the dumping of industrial waste. So every couple of years, the river turns completely red because of the dumping of textile dyes into it. The dumping of raw sewage directly in the riverbed. Again, the garbage, so you can see the scale. This garbage is about 15 meters high, filled inside the channel of the river. And it all flows into the Mediterranean Sea. So this makes it a local problem with a global impact. So with our initiative, we are trying to bring the Beirut River back to life. But not through, we can't really renaturalize the river because of the concrete banks, because the city has completely encroached on the floodplains of the river. So what we are aiming to do is to bring back the ecosystem services that the river was performing. So from stormwater management, flow restoration, also on the social level, through community engagement and collaborative partnerships. And I wanted to introduce this ancient Japanese saying, if you want to catch a fish, plant a tree. And so basically, this was posted by our partner Sugi a few days ago. The premise goes that trees take up nutrients from the soil, from high upstream. These go into the leaves eventually shed, and they make their ways into the rivers, they decompose in the rivers, and become this sort of like soluble form of nutrients that eventually makes its way into the sea, into the estuaries, and this is where fish come and spawn, and this is where you get this exchange of nutrients from high up in the mountain directly into the sea or the ocean, which makes this connection between trees, planting trees, and restoring rivers a really important one. So we planted the very first Miyawaki native urban forest in Lebanon. At the bottom, you can see the Beirut River in the concrete canal. In the summer, when this picture was taken, the river has only sewage water running through it, because all of the fresh water is taken at source from private bottling companies. So what remains is a dry river that is fed with raw sewage and industrial sewage. So this is the site of our first intervention, which we planted in 2 phases. So first 200 square meters, and then the second 300 square meters, which we saw in the video that you showed earlier. So we have a total of 2,000 trees and shrubs planted in only 500 square meters, so extremely dense. The benefits of urban forests is that they can help in fighting climate change, filtering air pollution, cooling cities, protecting biodiversity, managing urban floods, and restoring the water cycle. So it's also perfectly aligned with the UN SDGs on clean water and sanitation, sustainable cities, climate action, and life on land. So, and we basically chose very specifically the Miyawaki forest making method, because compared to conventional landscaping or even to conventional reforestation, Miyawaki forests are 10 times faster in growth. They are 30 times denser, which means they can sequester 30 times more CO2 and more pollution. They are 100% organic. There's absolutely no chemicals or pesticides used in them. They're very biodiverse and extremely dense. So we have 400 trees and shrubs in 100 square meters. They also require half the investment and become water and maintenance free within 3 years' time. So imagine that we don't have to deplete our water sources to grow this forest or to grow this landscape. Within 3 years, it becomes totally self-sufficient. So this is our forest when we planted it. On the first day, the trees and shrubs were about between 10 to 20 centimeters tall. You can see the difference in only 6 months' time, and then a year later. So the space is completely transformed in a very short period of time. These are the types of native species that exist in our forest. So in this forest, we have 17 different native species, oaks and pines, pistachio trees, laurel, hawthorn, so different edible species, medicinal species as well. And the aim is to basically restore biodiversity. So this is one of our success metrics. We measure success in our forest by studying the biodiversity of fauna that is coming back to the site, from the urban pollinators, butterfly, birds, bees, beetles, and bats, to mushrooms and fungi. Another very important metric is soil regeneration. So we saw in 6 months how the soil was transformed from a dead soil to a rich brown soil with earthworms coming back. And we also actually measure the growth in the forest. So we actually go and measure every month. We take a picture and we measure the height and the girth of the trees. So in the past 2 years, we've planted 7 forests in 1,000 square meters across Lebanon for a total of 4,000 trees and shrubs of 26 different native species. This method of afforestation has been labeled as a cheap secret weapon to fighting climate change by the World Economic Forum, also basically by Project Drawdown and by ETH Zurich University. Another way in which we use our media and social media and all of this is through applying for grants and receiving grants. So in different fields. So the AFAC, a grant for which is an art grant for an art and ecology residency program that will be running hopefully this summer. The AD Future Impact Award, and participating in different biennials and exhibitions. So we also reach out, press has been reaching out a lot. So this is a project that is very sexy in terms of visual imagery. So this is very easy for press to kind of come and be attracted to. And yeah, so by implementing this urban afforestation, we can regenerate the degraded leftover lands as a shared space between humans and native fauna and flora, reclaiming these sorts of degraded lands into regenerating ecological systems as well as social connections. And so the way that we also do that, I mean, in terms of going back to the video that we saw at the beginning, so with our partners, Sugi, which is a crowdfunding platform, and Biodiversity Builder, we produce these videos. So we film all the content and then send it to them, and they edit it, and they they release these sort of really short, engaging videos. They also connect us to a lot of international press. And we do that also on our own through our social media platforms, whether it's on Facebook and mostly Instagram, on theOtherDada or theOtherForest handles.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Very interesting to see the linkages between the forest and restoring water cycles, the benefits that this provides, and so important to highlight that in the media, and the messages that we talk about it not as isolated natural elements, but actually as ecosystems. And actually the interlinkages between them. I think this is very, very key in what you just explained. And I hope that you saw us some media clips from the challenges that faced by the situation in Lebanon by the river, both the pollution and the degradation. But did you see some coverage locally or internationally around nature-based solutions to mitigate this, or do you see that they are focusing more on the challenges or also around potential solutions that we could see?
I mean, I've been seeing in Lebanon, it's mostly, a lot of talk about challenges and not enough talk about, we're not the only initiative that is doing, good work in terms of nature-based solution, but they're hardly ever covered. Our work is rarely covered. I think it's through this sort of connection to international organizations and being published in international media that then brings attention to the local media that, oh, maybe this is something that they should be covering. So we're hoping that this also sheds light on other initiatives that are happening locally and not just on our own initiative.